Okay, in the group chat. All right, so we're going to get started with our second panel. And we have our virtual panelists here. We also have our folks here in person. And we have some embedded in the audience, right? Who going to participate too. Okay, so this second panel, guys, the first one, what were we talking about more so? What were some of your takeaways from that first one?
More reality, first job experiences, transitional,
Absolutely, right? So getting that foot in the door, kind of that first. Now we're going to shift gears just a little bit, and we're going to talk about what does HIIM look like in a non-traditional way, in a non-traditional setting, as a non-traditional career. So this one is called Beyond Traditional HIIM, and we're going to talk about tech, data, leadership, and some other non-linear type of paths, all right? All right, so I'm going to introduce our panelists. Actually, I'm going to introduce yourselves, if that's okay. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Just share your name and who you work for, a little bit about what you do, that's fine, so everybody can become familiar with you. We'll start with April.
Good afternoon, my name is April Bellamy Akins. I am the Director of Medical Staff Services at HCA Florida Capital Hospital, so right down the road. Any of your providers that come and see you, they have to have a license, DEA. I am the person behind the screen that makes sure that our facility is validated for those practitioners to be in. So that's just a snippet of what I do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, April.
Good afternoon again. So my name is Drusana Pollock. I work for the state of Florida as a fraud investigator analyst. My role and responsibility in that is to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse schemes, scams that occur throughout the state of Florida to ensure that the entire state of Florida population, their members, are not fraudulently, or providers are not fraudulently claiming or billing, doing billing fraudulence.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hey, I am Keosha Forston. I currently work with HCA Healthcare as a coding operations education manager. And so what that means is I manage and lead a team of education consultants that actually audit our physicians and providers to ensure that they are billing based on correct coding guidelines. Sometimes it's not a good environment to be in, but I've been there about 10 years. I used to be a Medicaid fraud abuse investigator with ACA and FPI. I also used to work with Capital Health Plan, and I've also been on the education side as well over medical coding and billing programs. So I've kind of been in all kind of facets of HIIM. So happy to be here. Good. So we got a whole lot to bring to the table. Okay, we're going to turn it over to our virtual panelists. We're going to start with Jessica. Jessica, give us your introduction, please.
Good morning, everyone, or it's afternoon now. I am Jessica Dozier. I serve as the Health Information Management Director as well as the Facility Privacy Officer at HCA Florida Blake Hospital in Bradenton, Florida. I've been with the organization a little over 13 years. I have oversight of facility operations as it pertains to chart completion, document imaging, as well as our privacy program.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jessica. Danielle.
Hi, greetings. Good afternoon. I'm Danielle Holmes. I currently am a inpatient, outpatient clinical documentation integrity specialist for the Department of Veterans Affairs under the Veterans Health Administration. I formerly used to work for the Department of Defense as well. I spend time throughout my day and throughout my work week educating doctors on how to document properly and to make sure they are compliant with federal laws and regulations, and also educating our TBI specialists for our region that I work with for BHA.
Perfect. Danielle, thank you so much. All right, we're going to turn to Veronica.
Hello everyone, my name is Veronica Hendricks. I'm currently a senior IT project manager. I've also been a manager of release of information, if we're talking about from the HIIM arena. Basically for the project management, what I do is if you're opening a new wing in the hospital, you are opening a new doctor's office, or you're doing any software upgrades or software implementations, I would run that project as a project manager from the IT side. So integrating with Epic, integrating with setting up the hardware, interfaces, any of that, I manage the time, the people, and the resources.
Woo!
So, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Veronica. And then Quanisha, last but not least.
Good afternoon. My name is Quanisha McLeod, and I am a clinical coordinator and professor in health information technology. I also work with our Bill of Code certificate students as well. So all things practicum and anything related to courses that you need to graduate in the program, kind of bounce around. But yeah.
Perfect, absolutely perfect. So we got variety, right? In our presence and on Zoom right now. A variety of backgrounds. So just like last time, in our first, we had a morning session, y'all. We had a what time was it? 10 o'clock. We had a 10 o'clock session, and it was real good. We're gonna close it out, make it even better. Is that all right? And so we want this to be fun, engaging, and students, alumni, all of those who are here, everybody that's present right now, feel free to ask questions as we go throughout this, because just as I announced last time, I ain't gonna cover everything, you know what I'm saying? So if you have something burning in your heart that you wanna ask, they're here for that. Y'all are here for that, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're here for. Now also, I know we just finished eating a lot of food. Did y'all eat a lot? Oh, ain't nobody eat a lot, just a couple people. Okay, so just a couple people, I put myself in there, I ate a lot of food, all right? So I gotta keep the energy going, I need y'all help with that. So we won't fall asleep, we don't wanna be dozing off, hitting our head, we don't need nobody pitching us under the desk and nothing like that. So let's keep that energy high, and we're gonna close out with a bang. Y'all ready to get started? Yeah. Let me hear somebody say ready. Yeah. All right, first question, and I'm gonna turn it over to Jessica. Jessica, we'll start with you for this first question, okay? First question is, what does non-traditional HIIM career? What do those words actually mean in your specific experience? And then how did you realize that you were in a non-traditional HIIM career?
Well, I have to bust everybody's bubble because I feel like I am kind of in a more traditional role of HIM, being front office HIM operations. But if I had to put it in a bucket or define it, a non-traditional HIM career goes beyond core HIM functions. It goes into operations, revenue cycle, compliance, as well as informatics and leadership. So at the facility level, instead, you have to think about how can you leverage technology to optimize your revenue in regards to your operations at the facility level.
Okay, all right. I want to hear from somebody else on the virtual side of it. Tell me about what do those words, non-traditional HIIM career, what do those words mean in your realm? What would you say, Danielle?
Okay, so I'm truly non-traditional because I work in the government side. So depending, I'm gonna go with the department or the defense, whichever you refer to. HIM is not even a term that we utilize on that side. We utilize, it's called Patient Administration Division. So it's the acronym for that is PAD. So that is more of a big gamut than health information management, and it includes from the beginning to the end. So that would include your admissions to the hospital, the facility, and getting within the database all the way to the end of care, which we call casualty affairs in the military, which means trying to process and plan on how to get that service member's body to their funeral service.
Wow.
So that to me, non-traditional.
That is, if we all agree to that. Yeah. That's non-traditional, okay? Perfect. You want to jump in, Veronica? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say I definitely realized that I was not in a non-traditional role, just because when they're looking or interviewing folks, they typically only look at people who may have had a project management role, a business role, but in terms of IT project management, it can go not just in healthcare, it can go across several different businesses, almost every business that you think of may have a project management position. So kind of thinking out of that box, but it's very, RHIA, your HIIM is very, very key to being a project manager because of the way we implement. You know a lot of background just about how the facility works, the background behind it. We do a lot with, EPIC or HIM and doing those updates. And so when we're doing any type of implementation, you think about things differently just because you have a core knowledge base of HIM. But it's not something that when they're hiring for, I would say they would typically, but you have the background to sell yourself because you know a lot about it.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm gonna come to our table panelists right now. And I'm gonna change the question up just a little bit, okay? So what was the moment that you knew you wanted to pivot or make a switch beyond just a traditional HIM role and what we may become familiar with while we're in school? Like, when did you realize you wanted to do something different than just a traditional path? Who wants to start off?
I'm gonna start with that, and it's kind of piggybacking off of Veronica, because she was my senior mentor, mentee. I went to Atlanta to do my internship, and when I saw her role, because prior to that, I was like, where do I want to go? Where do I want to navigate into? What direction do I want to go into? And so when I worked with her, or shadowed her rather, it was then that I realized, okay, there is non-traditional roles outside of HIM, outside of working in day-to-day facilities. And so it was that I said I need to navigate that field. My passion is helping people. My passion is giving back. My passion is just healthcare. However, I did not want to necessarily be in a healthcare facility, dealing with the hours and dealing with those things. And so I wanted to look outside of that. And I kind of wanted to tap into state agencies. So working with her and seeing that there are things outside of HIM that still follow me, like I still have the foundation. Everything that I learned in HIM, I still take with me as the foundation, and it travels with me. So when I go to broaden analyst, I am able to use all the skills in coding and the skills in SQLs and so forth on. I take that with me. And so that's what I'm doing.
I like that. That's good. Go ahead, Kia. So for me, my resume is non-traditional in itself because when I graduated from FAMU in 2001, I was done with school and taking tests. So I didn't immediately take my RHIA certification, which I would not recommend. I ended up starting at ACA as a Medicaid fraud abuse investigator, and they actually paid for my first certification, which was a certified professional coder through AAPC. You all familiar with AAPC? Yes. The floodgates opened for me after I received the CPC. So when I took the CPC exam, it was the hardest exam I took in my entire life. And I had a master's degree at that time. So when I did that, I was like, let me go take the RHIA exam. And then I literally had people calling, after I received my RHIA, I literally had people calling to offer me jobs. So I left ACA as a Medicaid fraud and abuse investigator and went to the teaching side. So that's a non-traditional aspect of it as well. And mind you, I had never worked in a hospital, but I was teaching. And that was a good experience. And then that led to me getting with a revenue cycle company. And then that's when I got into leadership after that. And so I've been in leadership now probably about 15 years since that. And that is how I just kind of remained in that non-traditional role. Went to Capital Health Plan, went on the commercial side of health insurance, learned more about that. That's a non-traditional role, working with the health insurance company. What I did there was when they were billing services that they needed to pay for their patients, if it wasn't going through their system, I had to go through and code it to get it through the edit so that it could be paid based on whatever the health insurance agreement was with the patient or the hospital or provider, right? So that was a non-traditional role in itself as well. So I've kind of been all over the place, but I've never worked in a hospital. Wow. Interesting. Okay. That is a non-traditional background. Yeah. What about you, April? We're gonna, Quanisha, we'll turn this question over to you too. Let you jump on in there. Come on.
Okay, what made me realize? So the person happens to be in the room today, so I can call his name.
Call his name.
So there was this person that reached out to me named Lindsay who said, hey, we got a job opening and I think you'll be a good fit, right? So there I was, applied for the job, had done it previously, had been out of it for years, love working in the hospital. I can talk to doctors a different way that a lot of people can't, so I can get them. Kind of realized that he got me in there so I can lessen the headache off of him because I can make them do stuff that they don't listen to him do. So that is what actually got me there, just saying, hey, we think that you'll be a perfect fit. Went in, had the interview, didn't think that I would qualify because I have an RHIA, had an MBA, and they wanted someone with a CPCS, so a Certified Professional Credentialing Specialist or either manager. So I didn't have that, and in order to get a certification, you actually have to do the job for 24 consecutive months within 5 years to even qualify to sit for it. So I'm like, I don't have it. But the background of working with physicians already being in compliance. So I went traditional, came out of the Florida A&M University, and did releasing information for a little while, traveled to different facilities and did just that. Then got into the hospital setting, did health information management, did a little outpatient coding. Realized I don't have the personality to be a coder because putting me in a little box and not being able to talk to people for hours just didn't sit well. But I do need to be somewhere I can recharge my battery enough. So I realized that, coding's not for me, although it was the money maker at the time. I'm not gonna do that. So went and have been doing, so I did medical staff credentialing, was succeeded by Lindsay at the facility I was at when I moved on to jump into compliance. So I realized that I love compliance and I love negotiating with people to get them to do what I want. So there it is. It's a negotiation. Like, you do this for me, then I got you right here.
Okay.
So I have advanced access and you can eat for free if you sign off on your charts.
Okay, somebody hold that question real quick. Somebody. It's not? It's a part of her path. What about when you were teaching too? Oh, okay.
So then, you know what? I had my aha moment when I was teaching. Dr. Cooper implemented this new legal aspects of health information management book in the year of 2024 when I took on this position. And just FYI, anybody who's taking a class this summer, the very last chapter talks about physician credentialing. So I became like, oh yeah, I'm actually on the right path. I guess, it was my aha moment. Yeah. That's where you're supposed to be, because now you have to teach this and learn it at the same time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Simone. Okay, Miss Quanisha McLeod, we want to hear from you. You want me to repeat? You got the question, you want me to repeat it?
One more time,
because I know we heard a lot. All right, what was the moment you knew you wanted to pivot beyond a traditional HIM role?
Okay, for me, I think I've always known that, so I just didn't know how I was going to do it. So I've always had a passion for education, and even when I was at FAMU, I minored in education. And so I knew eventually, so my plan, you always have your plan, but then God has his plan, right? So my plan was, I was going to do consulting, and then get my experience, and then circle back, maybe do my retirement and teach. That was my original plan. But then, just through my experience, so I started out, I did education in high school a little bit, so working with kids. And so when I was at FAMU, I know I needed that healthcare experience. So I kind of veered into a non-traditional path. I did mental health assistant at Appalachia. So I just wanted my foot into a hospital, so I could say I worked in the setting. And it did work in my favor because I got access to like patient records and being able to work with physicians and then see things like on a broader scale, if you will. That was my first experience like working in a hospital. So I would say that if you don't have any experience, start where you can and use it to your advantage. So from there, I kind of migrated to a call center, and I was working with like Medicaid and Medicare. So then I got exposure with that side of things. I was like, okay, that's nice. And then my next job, one of my best jobs, I got to work with April. She was my supervisor. Shout out to her. And I was at Select Medical for a while, and that really opened my eyes because I got to see everything like full circle, and I got to work on the foundational level to gain those skills. And I always tell her, like, I want to teach and things like that. She's like, okay. And then from there, I took on a position with Covenant Hospital. So I was working both, and I was in grad school. And then after that, I was looking for employment. I was okay, I got my master's now in healthcare administration. I'm looking for something on a higher level. And it just so happened, I applied for this job for the experience. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think I would get it. I came in, and at the time I also was tutoring at TCC in their HIIM program. And so I applied, and I was like, you know what? I went in with an open mind and said, if I don't get it, I can say, I got the experience, I know what they're looking for in the future. So after I get my consulting experience and working in HIIM in different fields, I'll come back to that. And it's like, we want you, we need you. I said, okay. And I took it, and I realized that I was able to do both my passion and my purpose, and I started teaching at HIIM. So that's when I realized, okay, and then I kind of stuck with it, and I really love what I do, and I know that I'm in the right place. So that's how I move. Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. That's good to see your hands. Okay. All right, cool. So now we're going to change this question up a little bit more. We're going to move on and talk about some risks that you all have had to take in your journeys and along the path. So what was the boldest career move you had to make? The boldest career move you had to make, and would you recommend that to students? Something similar. All right, we're going to go Verona.
She looked like she was in thought.
She did. She right there, right on the edge.
I would have to say just a move, but because when I graduated, right, I moved back to hometown, and so I was in Florida, Orlando, and then I would say moving to another state, picking up and moving for a job was one of the boldest career moves, and I don't regret it because I've been here, ever since. And it is what, one, boosted salary, but also, kind of changed what I was going into. So when I was still in Florida, I worked as a, we're getting some years here. Here we go. I worked at a hospital. It's kind of like an analyst, but this was right when we were going into electronic medical records. And so we were scanning ER records was the first kind of step into it. Well, for that, I was still in the filing room, doing handwritten deficiencies. But the job that I got when I moved to Atlanta, I was working for McKesson, and I was an analyst there. And so that is where they were installing what we call HPF, which was a scanning, which is all they were doing were like scanning charts. And so, but getting in that area, it helped me get more into the tech area, which is kind of when we were talking about what was that shift. So one, I agree with the kind of the coding thing. I kind of knew that wasn't me. I just didn't grasp onto it, I would say, as well as some of my other coworkers and some of my other people who I went to school with. But the tech thing is just something that I really, especially as we were getting into medical records, I had no idea that it was going to transfer into being, a project manager. And so as I look back, that was kind of the riskiest thing that I did, was moving to another state. So if you have an opportunity and you're looking for different careers, as I've told many of my interns that I have, look at the current things that you're using now, as far as in school, your encoders. Look at those places for jobs because you have the background and you have the experience where you've worked with them, where they may have analyst positions. All of that stuff is open to us. So what are you using on your day-to-day thing where they can utilize, and they utilize in the hospital when you go on your internships, what are those systems that they're using? They probably have analyst positions, they probably have implementation positions. And those are alternative from just being a coder or just being, working in the medical records department in the hospital. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, that's good, 2 cents. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna turn to Danielle. Danielle, talk to us about a big risk for you. What was one of the boldest career moves you've had to make? And then would you recommend that to students?
Ooh, okay. I got a few. So, just a question for the students. Do we have any non-traditional that are reservists, National Guardians, or ROTC in attendance?
Oh, I love that. Veterans.
Okay, so veterans can understand where I'm gonna go with this one. Okay. Thank you for your service, first and foremost. Let me make sure I say that. Boldest risk. I heard one of the panelists in person say they waited to take their RHIA. I waited 6 years to take mine. That's no more. Highly would not recommend that. But the boldest risk I continue to take is my personal bleeds into my professional. I am married to an active duty service member. So every time my husband has to relocate for his job, I have to reinvent myself and relocate as well. So there has been times I have taken sabbaticals out of the workforce, and more so for the greater good of my family than it is for my profession. And I continue to take those. I'm getting ready to take a month sabbatical in this summer for my for relocation. Would I recommend it? That's going to be a hard one to say, because at the end of the day, my priority is my family, and our family serve this nation in 2 capacities. My husband's active duty. I serve as a federal civilian. It comes with the territory. You have to know what is best for you professionally, and you have to be able to live with that risk when you take it. So I'm continuing to take it. I'm almost free. I got 3 more years. But I mean, 3 more years to my husband's retirement is free. But I would say you have to know what you want to be as a professional. You have to have that versatility and that flexibility to be able to take the risk. To piggyback off of Veronica, I relocated. I have lived in 3 to 4 different states within the last 17 years. I have to get used to different facilities to work in, different atmosphere, different branches of the military. So I just have honed my craft to be able to be versatile and to adapt, or as a military term, you have to adjust fire whenever it happens. So that's how I handle my risk. My suggestion is, you know who you are, you know what you want to become. You make an informed decision on how you want to take risks and take them. Do not hinder yourself. You are capable of doing more than what you think you are.
One more thing. Danielle, can you please share with the class where you're from?
I am from the small town of Cherokee, Florida.
Jasmine is from Quincy area. The other thing is that she needs to, Ms. Danielle, is that her husband is also a graduate and alum of the program. So, thank you.
And he is, one of his military occupation specialties is HIIM related. Like I said, it's called Patient Administrative Division. He is a PAD officer. It's a 70 Echo series for military occupational specialty. So he has that training as well. He has worked as a equivalent of an assistant HIIM chief in the military treatment facility as well.
Wow.
Thank y'all. Tell Gregory I said hello.
I sure will.
Oh, I want to chime in real fast. Sure. And then we're going to go here and then here, okay? Okay. One of the biggest risks I took was early on in my career with a startup contracting company. And the reason I took it is because it was the first time I was offered 6 figures. But I had to create the department. And I had never done that before. And so it paid off, literally and figuratively. But it was something that I had never done before. But I knew I had the skills to do it. And piggybacking on what Danielle said too, you are well able, right? We are well able. You have the skills, you have the knowledge, you have the abilities. Do something you think you can't do and you'll be successful learning something new. So that was what I would add to this. Good, yeah, I love that. You want to go in, Gabrielle?
Yes. Okay, Gabrielle. So it's
I was in the first section with everyone, and so you guys know I own my own healthcare business consulting firm. And I think in terms of risk, so I was in the traditional HIM roles. I told you guys that I started to fall in love with like that physician engagement, and April was my first boss. But that's what I learned, I guess, from her to engage with physicians, because it's crazy that that's what she loves to do. So, you know, after I did the traditional HIM leadership roles, I started to fall in love with health ops and physician engagement. The greatest risk I had was quitting my corporate job and starting my own consulting firm. It was a huge risk. But what I recommended after you become an expert at something, so with the HIM umbrella, figure it out, find the passion, find the place that you love, and you can become an expert. And then after years of doing that, the possibilities are endless. And I started the firm. My husband would laugh. I would have quarterly meetings by myself. I brought everything that I learned in the corporate spaces. I had KPIs that I had to hit. I was meeting and going to physician practices and meeting with them and introducing myself. I created my website. I did all these things to land clients, and today, thank the Lord, it has been successful, and I have been able to sustain, and I have 6 to 7 practices and health departments and all kind of stuff that I work for and work with. But it was a huge risk, and I would recommend it once you become an expert at something. And so while you're on your internships, when you get that first job, listen out to your own self about what gives you that spark when you're in the healthcare arena. And whatever that is, whether it's coding, compliance, physician, operations, the tech side, whatever gives you that spark, kind of keep that nugget so that you can maybe bet on yourself at a later time.
That's good. I like that. Awesome. All right. Okay, I don't see no hands, but I'm going to turn to you, Ms. Christina. What's something that you think in our programs or just generally as a student, what is something that you think students end up over-focusing on that doesn't really matter that much once you actually get into the field, and especially it doesn't matter that much in the non-traditional role? What's something that students over-focus on?
Probably the perfect job. That perfect, to me, for me, it was that, okay, since I'm in HIM, I don't like wasting money. I'm okay with spending it, but I don't like wasting it. So for me, I didn't want to be in, graduate, blood, sweat, literally tears, in this field, graduate from the field and not work within it. And so for me, it was more so, okay, I have to be in a job in the HIIM realm. And that looks like working in the hospital, that looks like working in the practice, that looks like this of what I'm absorbing in when I'm here. And so it was, I would say, this is your career. You are the indicators of your career. And so for me, what I give to you is to not look for, it has to be the perfect job. It has to be whatever you need it. You can go wherever you want to go. You can shift however you want to shift, because of the fact that data is data. Information that you gain, all you have to do is understand it, know how to use it, and know how to translate it to someone else. And so if you're able to use that, to do that, you can almost be in any field, traditional or non-traditional.
Perfect job, okay? So for our virtual panelists, do y'all have anything y'all can add to that? What is something that you think students are just hyper-focusing on that doesn't even really matter that much once you get into the field or in a non-traditional role in HIM? You can go ahead, Jessica, I see you.
I would say, at least when I was a student, I think I focused a lot on looking at the tree instead of the forest and not the big picture. So often, I think as students, we're focused on checking a checkbox, and when I've had mentees throughout the years, you're studying for a test, but like, are you able to really translate that into actionable skills? And like, how would you run it? One of the best CEOs I've worked for recently, they said, you're the CEO of your life, right? And I recently reread the book, The Energy Bus, but you're the bus driver of your bus. But what you have to make sure is that you're not so narrow focused that you miss the big picture. And then when opportunities does exist, or you have a phenomenal panel like this here with non-traditional roles, like you think that you have to go into HIM operations with code and transcription privacy, when really you can be a project manager. And how do you translate those skills and be able to articulate that in an interview? So I think if it's anything, don't overwhelm yourself. Don't focus so much on the one thing when you need to look at the bigger picture. And that's really asking yourself the tough questions so you do start going in the right career path.
That's perfect. And I love what you said about transferring the skills. So anybody can jump on this question, whether it's online or in person. How do we, or how do students, I was a student, so it could be how do we do it. How do students transfer this HIM knowledge that they're learning into a role? How do they translate or transfer that knowledge into a role that doesn't have HIM in the title? How do they, some people talk about selling themselves, right? Like earlier, so how do we do that? How do we transfer that? Veronica, you go ahead.
So one of the tools I wanted to make sure that I explained is that when I was trying to get into the manager of release of information, I literally brought my end of year project to the interview. Now, of course, it looked a bit different because it was a binder. It had all these pages in it of what I did, but that is what helped convince that manager, or that director actually, because I was a manager, so that director at that time, that I had the knowledge to be able to create a department. So my biggest thing is you need to prepare for those interviews. Don't just have like an interview and think you're gonna show up. The great thing that sets HIM aside, that sets FAMU aside, is that you have your professional development classes. Bring those things that you've learned at professional development classes to your interviews as far as preparing for them. How you look, what you say, you want to look the part. Any of the, and you can ask them, I've had 2 of my interns, I tell them, you need to come to work looking like the part. And make sure you take it seriously. But also you need to prepare for those interviews and look at the job description, what they're asking for in that job description, and tailor your answers to that. And even now, as I interview as a professional who's been in the industry for almost 20 years now, yeah, that's crazy. You know, I come to those interviews prepared to bring what I've done, the skills that you have, and relate those to any of the things that they're asking for in that job description directly. So, and they're asking you those questions for a reason. So just make sure that you prepare for those interviews just based on what you've learned in school and your internships that you've had, the real world.
That's awesome, Veronica. Did anybody else want to jump in? Okay, go ahead.
So, on both sides of it, one thing I always say, especially to students, is it actually starts here. So how you dress for class, how you look, and setting the room, because we as a people have to show up a lot differently when we enter into the room. There are a lot of times I'm sitting in meetings like I am the only one that looks like me, and I'm sitting amongst physicians that do not look like me. So I have to, as much as I want to, might want to put in some purple hair, I can't do that, because they have to look at me and take me seriously. So there are certain days when I have a meeting, I have to put on the business suit, might not feel like it, it's hot outside. And there are certain days I can relax a little, but it really all starts here, because your next employer actually may be in the room. They may be on the elevator with you. And people would say that, and I wouldn't buy into it until it happens. You walk in somewhere and they're like, oh, I think I've seen you before. Or like I have a student now that remembered me from medical term and didn't think that they would cross paths with me again. And I have to say, how serious were you when we were in the class? and now you want me to put a word in for you, and you played. So let's go back and look at what your grade was then, but now you need me. So it really starts, but at the same time, you're the only one that can market you. So any room I go in, when they say own the room, like that's a slave saying I say to anyone, own the room, not owning the room by how you look, but own the room by the knowledge base that you have. No one can sell you better than you can sell yourself. So no one knows me, so I literally own the room. There are times when you have to know, just be quiet and let them think they know what they're talking about, and then go in and say, I think this is what worth it. So.
All right, okay, so you're talking about having that confidence to walk in the room, own the room, and all of that. You know, you talked about something that we heard earlier, and that was being in these settings, getting out into the industry, being in meetings, and being at the table, and being the only one that looks like you, and all of that. So this question is open to any of our panelists who may have dealt with this. I want to know, have you guys ever heard of imposter syndrome before? A couple people have. I want to know if anybody, this is a little sensitive, but I want to know if anybody has ever dealt with that in your non-traditional role or in the industry, feeling like an imposter. And if you did deal with that, how did you overcome that? Especially in non-traditional roles where they don't know what HIIM is and they might be looking down on it or whatever. Like, how did you overcome feeling like an imposter? Anybody can jump in if you'd like. Jessica, you want to go? Okay.
I'll go. I was one of the first MIT's manager and trainees for the HSC in Tampa Bay with HCA Caroline. And I can remember as a student, Dr. Cooper used to push us into going to the FAMU conventions every year. And the first time that I ever attended a FAMU convention, I was like, uh-oh, nobody here looks like me. This is an organization or a career path for older, middle-aged white women. Where do I fit in? Then you have to tell yourself to keep pushing, because what I learned, especially at FAMU back in, I'm about to date.
Go ahead, Dexter.
In 07, we used to have a saying that said you have to go in order to grow. And that kind of just sat with me. And if we don't present ourselves at these tables, we don't open up other opportunities. And how do you combat that is you have to keep doing those self-talks and affirmations. Like, you're not, I don't know, we're from FAMU. So, you know, as soon as we're in our class, we carry everybody on our shoulders. We know that when we go out into the workforce, let's be real. And so therefore, I was sitting at the table, and at the time it was Marlon Newman. He was the capital director almost 13 years ago. And he was like, just come to me to a PsyOps dinner. And that's a vendor for release of information that's now a data van. And at the table happened to be our COO of HIIM operations. And then from there, she was like, I don't know what you're gonna do for me, but I want you to come work for me. So like, if you're not present, if you don't get yourself out of those comfort zones and get past that imposter syndrome, you kind of block the opportunities that may come about. And since then, I believe that we've created a really successful pipeline with FAMU graduates into our manager and training program.
I agree. There are a lot of people representing HCA.
Absolutely, and let me say this. Actually, Jessica and Gabby, those were the two students that came to class on time, did stellar work, excel. So when I talked with Mr. Newland, I said, hey, I have two students, I want them to experience the professional practice experience. It was called 2-for-1 back then, in a different aspect. I said, I trust these students, I trust these young ladies to do exceptionally well under your tutelage. I can send them out and don't have to worry about them cutting up, you know. And so, and because of that, especially, this pathway was created with HCA, and Jessica was the first one. Actually, they came here and met with us because of, how they perform and how Jessica performed, I guess, and then, whatever meeting you went to, Those two, what was it, Mr. Robinson and Kelly?
Yes.
Yes, at the time, I never forget that, in that room, this room right behind us, they wanted to travel here to see what program did the student come from. And from then on, so each one of you all who are in that director and training, the relationship, do I have any healthcare management people in here from healthcare management? The relationship that we have with HCA and them being confident in who our students are started with these two right here. And especially Jessica. So let's get Jessica was the first one.
Oh, you ahead, Jessica.
And that's been a long time ago, Jessica. That was it long been now? I know that, no, I was pregnant, that's about 15 years.
It's not that long.
That's when
I graduated in 2013.
Right, but when you first started doing this relationship with them.
It was, yes.
Yeah, because Ashland is 15.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's good. So did you have something that, was it you? I saw it somewhere. Okay. It was specific to imposter syndrome. Please talk about it. And so one of the things that helped me overcome it, particularly as someone that was fresh starting out, was realizing that I was in the room and I was the only black woman in the room. And sometimes being the only woman in the room, depending on the room, was realizing that most of them had high school diplomas and knew somebody that knew somebody to get to those roles and those positions. Now, I want my network to work for me too, okay? And I want to know somebody that knows somebody. But what helped me was understanding that I had done the work and I deserved to be in the room because I had the degree, I had the certifications, plural. I have multiple certifications, and I did the work to learn my craft. And so when I spoke intelligently. When I spoke, it wasn't just to be saying something. When I had something to say, that's when I said something. I utilized an acronym called WAIT, W-A-I-T, which is why am I talking? So that when you speak, people will listen. And that is how I was able to overcome that imposter syndrome, by understanding my value and what I brought into the room.
That's good. That's real good. All right. Anybody else want to jump in on that? Okay, come on, Quanisha. There you go.
I'll speak this just because when I knew what I wanted to do, but when I came into my role, I was really young. I was 26. And so becoming a professor at 26 and being in a room with other individuals, it would be like small microaggressions you probably wouldn't recognize. So like parking, like, oh, you can't park it to faculty and staff. And I'm like, well, where am I supposed to park? Oh, you was parking in the student area. I'm like, I'm not a student, I'm faculty. And so little things like that. Oh, you don't look like a professor. So then I began to question, well, what does a professor look like? Like, can someone give me a description or a picture? Like, tell me what are the boxes you're looking for me to check? And essentially what they were saying is you look too young. Or my seniors that were in the field say, oh, you still got milk on your tongue. You still a baby. And so just questioning began saying, well, am I supposed to be in the room? Like, am I doing something wrong? Am I an outlier? Like, you begin to, if you're not careful, you can start to internalize those comments or opinions of others. I will say that not only do you carry, just to mention carrying FAMU like in the room and having that on your shoulders. So just going back to what was instilled in me with my senior with FAMU and realizing that I am capable, I am called, and just kind of affirming yourself. And not only that, I'm doing this not only for FAMU, but as a first generation college student, I'm doing this for my ancestors, my lineage, and so it's bigger than me. And so going into the room and beginning to kind of keeping my why at my forefront, that's what kind of pushed me through. And so I will say that it's normal to, if you have imposter syndrome, it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's kind of, it can come, I won't say it kind of, it can come with territory, right? You may or may not embrace it, question it, challenge it, and implement tools for yourself to help you overcome it. It looks different for everyone, but there's nothing to be ashamed about, like, if you have it. So that's just my experience with it.
For sure, that's good. You have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the quotes that I live by is they can't be what they don't see. Just as like motivation that I look for generations after me, so they can't be what they don't see, so I have to be the representation. So one of my questions is, what did success look for you back then versus, and how has that changed over time?
Oh, good question. Did everyone hear that on the virtual panel too? Okay, good. Who wants to take a stab at that first? Anybody?
Sweet, I'll go.
Okay.
So what does success look like? First coming out of school? Okay, money. a certain income, honestly. So for me, success was a certain income. So whether it was 6 figures, Coach Stewart breathing on it. But later on, you realize that you need the opportunity. And success is greater than just making the money. It comes eventually, I can tell you. Eventually it does come. But you need the opportunity. And aside from that, any room I enter, what I tell anyone, especially students, is you may not get this now, but just remember this. The assignment is always bigger than the job. So your purpose of being there is normally bigger than what your job description says. So even as a professor, the assignment is bigger than the job. I'm here to teach, but the assignment is to impart something to someone else's life, to give them the motivation to actually go out there and do what it is they want to do. I'll say Quanisha, for example, from the day we met, like I hired her knowing that she wanted to be an educator. I knew she wasn't going to be with me forever. However, FAMU graduate, and she was honest. So it was like, okay, like she's here for 6 months, then great. If she's here for 3 months, then that's fine. But I knew she was honest, so I hired her for that very reason. Like, you want an opportunity. So here I am, you're a FAMU grad, I'm gonna look out for you. Yeah, like, let's do this. But you can't, one thing I want to say is you can't chase money. It comes eventually, I promise you. It comes eventually. You go, you do the job, they'll toss the money to you. Because whether it's we don't want you to go, because someone else wants you, and you're like, yeah, I'm not leave. And they're like, oh no, let's see. All of a sudden they miraculously come up with money from the budget that they never had, right? So no, the budget doesn't, but as soon as you say you're leaving, you can't chase it. They find it. They really do find it. Like, and it's like, oh, okay, man, it was there all along. But that's because they know eventually they find out what they're losing and what another company is about to gain. But you can't chase the dollar. For me, success was I had to make a certain number. And if you wasn't offering that out the gate, then you don't deserve my time and attention. But later on, I had to realize there is so much more with the job, and sometimes the assignment. And the assignment just is beyond the job description. There are times when you have to be a life coach. And it's like, okay, I guess that's what I was supposed to do today. So I hope there's a great seat beyond the sky for me. Because I just listened to somebody's problem. But so success is actually, I feel like, getting aligned with your destiny and being a part of the plan that's actually set.
Yeah, that's good. Please do jump in. Go ahead.
I'll add on to what she said because I completely agree. At first, it was the income, but now for me, it's the impact. How can I impact someone's life to help them meet their full potential? And so I'm in that room to help that person, right? And I believe money follows ministry. So whatever I do, if I'm invested in that person, if I'm invested in his people, the money's gonna come because I've already seen it and he's already been provided in that way. So that's what changed for me. Is initially it was about the money, and then it was like, man, it's really not about the money, right? It's more about what impact I can make on my team because I want to raise up or build up or help people grow into leaders to help them meet their 6 figures as well, or whatever they have for their goals or whatever they want to achieve in their lives.
I love that. These are some good, that's a good question. You want to answer that question? I want to keep that one going.
Yeah, that's fine. It was just a follow-up question to that question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the follow-up question is, and then at what moment did you feel established in your career?
I'm a work in progress. So this is where I am for now. I'm going to keep higher. Elevation is my calling, so I believe that. So I'm going to keep going, and I don't want to get comfortable, because as soon as you get comfortable, that's when things start going awry, at least in my life. So I don't want to get comfortable in that, and continue to want to grow and continue to go on to different things and elevate.
Okay, Veronica, go ahead, jump in.
I think it was, as far as following up to your question, it was when, and for me, it was when I started a family, right? A lot of the women I see in the room, a lot of the people I see in the room are women, but it becomes a point when you're like, what's more important? Me being able to, go home and take my son to practice or be at his school rather than kind of climbing the career ladder. Am I okay where I am? Because I know when I was younger, and you have the opportunity to do that now, right? Like I said, move for those places, move for those different positions, go to those different positions because you have the opportunity to do that. And I know some of you may have families now, right? But you get to a place where the money comes and you're able to take care of your family, but you also get to a place where I know what I'm doing. I've established my brand. That was a big thing for me. I work for Piedmont. I didn't say that, but it was a big thing for me as walking into those places, like you said, being the only, African American there, but they respect me because I spent the time there to establish my brand, and that was a big, I guess you say, end of year goal every year for me was to have a brand there. So once I got my brand established, then I was like, oh yeah, I made it, because now, again, you're able to mentor people, you're able to take on interns, you're able to walk into a room, or the new hires that come on who are PMs, I'm able to give them the process. So you get your fulfillment from that, and then also as a PM, I realized I've made it when I could go back to those departments or those exam rooms or those physicians' offices, or you're driving downtown Atlanta. So if y'all ever come down there and y'all see a big Piedmont building, that was my project. You know what I mean? So you can do that and you feel accomplished. So when you start making those accomplished, that's kind of when you feel that you've made it. But I think us, as most of us are Black women, we're goers. So I won't say it's ever a time where you feel complacent, because as we know at FAM, and that's something that they teach us at any HBCU, I don't think that's just a FAM, but we do have to be bigger, we have to be better, we have to be brighter, and you continue learning, you continue developing. So don't ever lose that drive, but there is a point where you feel like people listen to me, and I respect the other panelists on here because they talked about, being able to walk into a room and people listen to you, and we already have that presence as African Americans, so now just continue to use that. But it'll be a point in time when you feel like, hey, people are listening to me, they know, but it does take time. So kind of that expectation right out of school, you need to learn and be hungry and ask those questions right when you get there. Like they said, the money will come, take the position so that you can say, I did this, I did that. And then as you grow in your career over those years, you'll be able to build upon it, and then you'll get to a point where you're like, it's not necessarily climbing the ladder, but what's next, and then getting to those different positions.
Okay, that's perfect. Go ahead, Jessica.
I'll have to piggyback on the rest of the ladies on the panel, which was all phenomenal. I think when I was sitting in your position, as a student, I didn't dream big enough. I thought like making 50 to 60K a year was amazing, because my husband, he graduated from the DPT program at FAM, and I just thought, we were about to be a power couple making almost $200,000 together. I had no idea what the earning potential really could be, because not that many people knew. My mom still asked me, I'm a first generation college student as well. She was like, so you going back to school for nursing? I was like, no. I'm in HIIM, like this is what I'm doing. She was like, Jessica, what is that? And I was like, I can't even really explain it to you. You just have to, it's something that you have to, as much as I explained to her, she just didn't understand. But nobody told me in that transition what was the impact, right? Like, one of the ladies said that it was earning potential, but it's really the impact, I think, in not knowing how much it mattered for me to show up. So for the people behind me could have more opportunities. And as often as Dr. Cooper used to bring in speakers, I was sitting myself right in them chairs that y'all are in. I don't think it clicked in my brain like all the things these ladies are saying on the panel today, that could be me in the next 5 years. And I was very blessed to become a director within, I think, 11 months after I graduated. I got my first director job, and I experienced some of the same hardships as Quanisha said. And Quanisha, yes, when we graduated, me and Gabby graduated with Quanisha too. But she always wanted to be an educator. And people just was like, you're too young, you're not supposed to be here, but just keep showing up. And then the weird transition into motherhood. Nobody ever talks about motherhood and having a family and still trying to accomplish your goals. So I think somewhere along the way, I slowed down my career growth track. I think I managed over 3 facilities in HCA. So I started off in Tampa, went down to Miami, and then back to West Florida again after graduating. And then I got married and had a kid. And I think that's where my goals changed for me. So once that season comes into your life, really taking a step back to say, now that I have the money, now that I have the experience, how do I want to show up in not only my professional life, but my personal life as well? And that's where I am, and I'm still growing in that space and figuring out how to balance it all.
Wow, that's so good. I wanted to ask if there's any questions. Any questions in the audience? Because we're about to wrap it on up, y'all. Okay, you have a question?
Not specifically about what we just talked about,
okay.
But Ms. Jessica Dozier, you said you are HIM Director and Privacy Officer. How do both of those positions go hand in hand with each other?
They go perfect together because we oversee all aspects of facility-based operations. So we're behind the scenes, but we have a complete toolkit, and Summer was one of my students. I don't see her from the camera angle. She's here. She was one of my students recently, and we went over some privacy things, and one of the questions that related back was, how do you take what you're learning currently? And one of the things I made her do was go on the Department of Health and Human Service website and build your own privacy program. And then because I need you to be able to talk to that when you go into an interview, because that is a potential job, a compliance auditor, and then you can go on up from a privacy perspective. But how does it work is pretty much facility oversight. We follow the privacy toolkit on the Department of Health and Human Service website for HIPAA. And then we have to do education, but because I'm with a major organization, we do have a corporate information protection team, and Lindsay is there in the room. He can speak more to that as well. And Lindsay's there, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was say Lindsay's there. He can speak more to that as well. So they give us a pretty much laid out toolkit that we just have to work with our facility partners and compliance team. And make sure that we're adhering to the privacy rounds. When we have HIPAA violations, I work for a trauma level 2 facility here in Bradenton, so sometimes people inadvertently disclose pictures on social media. It's going to be the death of me as a compliant HIPAA privacy officer, that standpoint. And then you do something called a risk assessment. You shoot it up to our corporate team, and then from there, we'll have to report it to the Department of Health and Human Services, and then make sure that we apply the appropriate sanctions to the employee. So whether it's re-education or termination, depending on the offense. So those are some of the things that we do. So when you're taking your legal aspects, I think that's what I relied on most heavily. And I honestly took that book around with me when I initially started my career for the first 5 years, because I referred back to that book often. And then for my quality and PI tools, I do recaps, and we try to track and trend some of our privacy opportunities. And then we do facility-based education or department-specific education to ensure compliance. But all that stuff that I implemented or created at the facility level, it came from my textbooks, and then I operationalized it because I stopped looking at the tree, and I looked at the big picture and realized they gave us all the tools that we needed in the program at FAM. It was just, how do we talk it through and how do we walk it through and show up? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
You have a question, okay?
Yes. I was just wondering, is the security piece under your purview as well as the privacy officer?
Not the security piece. We partner very closely with our IT director team. At the corporate level, they kind of go hand in hand. But security is a very different and I would say a very unique skill set. But we as HIM, with the HIIM background, because I have to tell them often, I said I have a health informatics and information management degree, okay? We can also assume those roles. But privacy, if I had to like dumb it down into the simplest terms, anything HIPAA privacy, I would say is more physical, patient-facing, paper, and then the I team would be the system safeguards. How do you ensure like your HL7 feeds and your firewalls and those security structures in an IT database is secure? And that's why they're kind of totally two different wavelengths or brain paths that you have to take. So you have to be very strategic, and that's what I try to tell my students, like which route, once you figure out you want to be in privacy, if it's IT based, then that's going to look very different than being facility HIM operations based in my organization.
Okay, perfect, perfect, all right. So we're gonna reach our time, right? But we reached our time, but this has been good. So I want to turn to Danielle real quick. Danielle, give us the students and us as a group your biggest piece of non-traditional advice for our students who are here represented.
Professional development and being versatile. So education doesn't stop after you get your degree, right? So if you get your certification, you do have to get your continuing education unit. So take those continuing education units and try out new stuff. One of the mind-blowing situations I've been in, and I don't know if you guys heard of ACTIS, which is the Association of Clinical Documentation Specialists. Most of that's clinical based. That's not administrative based. So having the opportunity to be a part of the association, having the clinical background I do have, it helps me be versatile. So when I do provide the engagement, I understand the lingo, right? I'm able to see where they're coming from a clinical perspective and merge it and get them to understand the administrative perspective. You have to constantly develop yourself. Just after you get your certification or you go on to the next step, get your master's, you have to grow professionally overall, and you have to be willing to learn and make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and then strive to do better. The moment you get complacent is when that sense of settlement comes in and it's hard to get out of. So find things, even if you don't do CEUs, y'all have social media, right? We didn't have TikTok. We had Facebook, but we had to have an EDU. You can go to TikTok, YouTube, all those things and learn stuff. Even if it's like 3 minutes, right? Learn something new, a new term, something that goes on in the clinical setting, something that goes on in the IT setting, something that goes on in the administrative setting. But you constantly have to have that self-determination to be better, do better, and learn constantly.
That's perfect, Danielle. That's good. Okay, one more piece of non-traditional advice. Let's go do something.
Non-traditional advice, I would just have grit. I'm gonna say this: doors will be shut on your face. They would happen. It took me, again, we talked about this earlier. It took me. think I shortchanged it a little bit. It took me probably about 5 interviews with the state of Florida. And regardless, I had to continue to show them and show up each and every time to that interview to say, hey, this is what I can bring to the table. This is what I can do for you. This is how I can be an asset to your team. This is where, and even though, now while they were doing their due diligence, because of course they had to have hired somebody within one of the interviews, me being prepared, me being ready to go, me always striving for the best, me having great motivation and grind, I just had to, I wouldn't take no for an answer. And I think that's what helped, because I would always call the hiring individual. I would always have to reach out to her. And I think don't stop, don't let it go.
Don't stop it, don't let it go. Be persistent.
Be persistent.
I'm gonna go Kiosha and then again we're gonna come right to Kiosha. You had something you wanted to
Yes,
add?
earlier we talked about getting into those non-traditional roles with your HIM degree. Just like Ms. Jessica said, we have a health information and informatics. You have a management degree. That means you can manage people, processes, workflows. That means you can manage those things. So you don't have to look for something that is in that traditional sense. You can do consultant, you can be an analyst, you can do anything leadership. It doesn't necessarily have to be those HIM things that are related traditionally to HIM, because you have a management degree. So that means you can manage different things outside of healthcare as well. All right, so keep that in mind. And then just my last couple of things I wanted to say, find a mentor, find a mentor, find a mentor. Okay, that is super duper important, because not a lot of people are in this space, but we know somebody that knows somebody as well. So you want to do that as well. And then we talked about dressing and coming into the room. When I was here at Florida A&M, they told us, don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want. All right, so just keep that in mind.
Okay, I like it. Gabby, non-traditional advice.
Last thing, write down, I've heard Piedmont, Veronica works at Piedmont, I've heard HCA, the Always Going Health Firm. What's your organization name that you work for? HCA. Oh, HCA as well, I'm sorry. Y'all need to write those names. Like anytime you hear about a healthcare organization, I think I heard Datavant, that's the ROI company. Write down those companies and go look them up. Go get familiar, because that's how you're gonna see the non-traditional opportunities. If it's an EHR company, you know, I think we probably heard Epic or Athena. Hopefully y'all know what those are. I'm confident that you do. But anytime you're in a healthcare conversation or around people, listen for the company names and write them down and go and research them. You should be an expert on the jobs that they have open and the ones that you might be a good fit for, and maybe not yet, but you want to be. You know, get comfortable on LinkedIn. I should see a bunch of requests come in on my page. I'm hoping that after this you requested me and everyone else, so you could see who is who works for who, where they at. Like that's the thing that will take you to the next level. Even though you're students, you're not going to be for long. It'll take you to the next level, and it'll prepare you for when you're ready to start applying.
Good. That's perfect. Okay.
I want to add one.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. I want to also share, while you guys, if we all learn the data part, informatics, information, all those things, what I realized working as a fraud investigator is that I needed to hone in on more skills. I needed to, as far as Excel, Power BI, SQL. SQL was not my friend when I was, it just did not, I couldn't get it to drive home. And however, I still taught myself these applications and tried to stay sharp and sharpen my skills with these. And now in this realm that I'm in, I use these skills every day. And I think that would take you a lot further, even though you learn a little bit here. But for you to go above and beyond in those applications will definitely open doors for you once you get to the table and into the job interview. You can say, hey, listen, this is what I learned. However, this is what I taught myself. We learned this in school, but this is what I taught myself. We didn't learn about Power BI. We didn't learn about these other things. However, I'm advanced in SQL and all those things. So that's important as well. And being able to take that, interpret it, and explain it to your panel, because you'll have a panel too that you're going to interview with. Don't let that scare you away, because they're human beings. They put their pants on just like you put your pants on, and they just have a job that you're wanting, and you just desiring for, and you just need to let them know why you need the job, that you want the job, that you deserve the job.
Perfect. Veronica, you want to add something in?
Just really quick to piggyback off of that. One thing that you guys have that, especially from the IS side, the IT side, is your knowledge of AI. Now, where we have to catch up is, we know how it works and we know what it is, but we're not early adopters. So find out, and some things that you can think about as we talk about non-traditional HIM, where can I be of value? How can you use AI, right? Not copyright me, but how can you use that to bring value to the jobs that you want? Because that's where you have us who've been in the industry where we're playing catch up in terms of utilizing that to make our jobs easier, especially in project management. It's a lot of education or side education that I have to do for myself in order to catch up with things that you may already know. So that's just a thing to think about as you talked about using your skills and refreshing on other things like Excel. We still use that, but they might not be thinking about how you can take that Excel document, throw it into Copilot, and produce whatever you need to produce. But you guys do that in your sleep. So that's just a nugget of things you can think about out of the box that may set you apart and you may be seen as value to bring those things into a career or a job that you want.
That's good. That's so good. That's perfect. Friends, we done reached the end of our second panel. Did y'all enjoy this one? Yeah. Non-traditional career path. So we thank all of our panelists. Let's give it up for them one more time, y'all. Veronica Hendricks, Felicia McLeod, representing Valencia College, April Bellamy, Jasana Paul, and Keosha Forrester coming in at the last minute. She was going to be in room 100, but she decided to come on in. And then we also have other professionals who are here represented even still. So take advantage of this time. All of our students, if you haven't gotten a chance to talk to everyone yet, they're still here to do that, okay? So we have, oh Lord, Shatana, what's your last name?
Williams.
Miss Williams. We got Miss Holmes back here. Gibber. Holmes. Okay. I'm getting all kind of stuff. See, that's why we're supposed to clap, and then I never have to get this stuff. Tamara Rodriguez in the back. Francesca Philippi. Janice White.
Tonique Lord.
Tonique Lord. And Lindsay Hayes. Y'all give it up for all of them. Wonderful, y'all. Thank you so much for your time. All of our panelists, thank you guys for showing up and showing out and representing a beautiful way. And everyone who's come back to FAMU to be, an awesome ambassador for the career. Thank you all so much for your time. Okay. Yes. All right, y'all. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all next time.
And I would like to say something, Dr. Barnes.
Okay.
Thank you all from our president, Dr. Margaret Johnson, as well as from our provost, Dr. Watson, also from our dean, Dr. Mary Simmons, our associate dean, Dr. Eric Farmer, all of the directors, and especially from me, Dr. McNeil, who's not here, I have to talk to her. I still talk to Dr. McNeil, as well as Dr. Burke. We still go out to lunch, as well as Dr. Mosley. I was on the phone with her last night. Also, Dean Hughes Harris, who will be on here in May. She and I still talk, so I still have a connection with them. Thank you all, because you all stand on their shoulders. So thank you all once again. Thank you to Mr. Darrell Lewis, our videographer. Thank you to Ms. Jacoria Ilya, she was also in here earlier. As well as thank you to Mets for our food on today. Professor Mitchell, who had to take care of some other academic things, so that you all will be fine. Yes, her sacrifice. And Dr. Smothers, my brother, my colleague, as well as my classmates, my neighbors, in the same neighborhood. Thank you for providing us with the technology assistance. Absolutely. And we're just I'm glad about this opportunity. This is an inaugural event. I'm going to have Dr. Barnes to start planning for next year. Okay. We'll continue this tradition. Even if I have to ride in one of these for the remote control with see, no you won't. Because I plan on living, I plan on living to be at least one. That's what I'm saying in my head. Yeah, you know, y'all get here and I stand up and I can walk around. So I get in here, but I may have to ride from the parking lot. All right, thank you all. God bless you all. Take care and have a wonderful afternoon. Oh, can we get a picture with them up there? Oh, Dr. Barnes.
While we doing the picture.